Hello, everybody. This is Veronica from Human Design Journey. And today I have a very special guest coming from the heart of the jungle, Lion King, Julia
Mm.
Krakova. How are you?
Wow, I don't know even how to answer this question. Who am I, first of all, and then how am I? Because I'm just out of the Peruvian jungle process. So I'm in the stage of coming back to the normal, if there is such thing even existing. And so I cannot really answer the question how I am at the moment. I just am.
Oh, beautiful. You just are. And actually, you don't need to go to the jungle because every time I met you, you just are, Julia. I love that. And you really, to me at least, from what I saw, um, I experienced that with you to just be in the moment now. Um, so I'm glad to be in the moment now with you. Um, yeah. So you had a special experience, it seems.
Yeah, you know how life is, yeah, with these two parts, the red and the black, the mind and the body. And there are times for us when we take care of our mind and we study and we polish it and we observe it. And then there's times also to take care of the body and also bring it to a different level. So I was invited to go through this process that's called dieta. It's nothing to do with the diet, the way we Westerners understand it, because it's basically mystical plants. They're not psychedelic. I already want to tell you. Yeah, it's actually a very different level of medicinal herbs that are working on both physical and energetic and emotional and whatever you want to call it. There are many names to call it, bodies. So basically, they lock you in the cabin and you drink this cup of this tea made out of the mostly bark, but sometimes also leaves and roots, but mostly barks of specific trees. And they serve a very, very plain food, rice and vegetables without any additives, no spices, no oils, no salt, no nothing. And this goes on for some times. My period was 7 days, I think, or 10. I actually lost the count even. But calendar-wise, it wasn't that long, but obviously it felt forever. And that's it. And that's what you do. And it opens things that you were not aware of before, that you were, yeah, the layers of reality that you are. And so lots of detox, first of all emotionally and psychologically, but also physically. For myself, for example, as a yoga practitioner, I was literally unable to drag myself on the yoga mat in the morning. That's how weak my body was. So now it's my third day of out of dieta, and I have the whole month ahead of me of keeping a specific food regimen, also without much additives, without fried food, without many. I got like lists like that of things to do. So you can call it a basic restart of both mind and the body. So that's where I am at the moment.
At the restart point.
Mhm. Yeah,
So we find you like a blank piece of paper.
absolutely. Absolutely. The only thing is that I kept teaching. So let me move the camera a little bit. So the my dieta was not 100% clear traditional because I was teaching Living Your Design course and I gave a couple of readings. So I was out of me for a couple of hours every other day, but that's pretty much it. I think I'm too fanatic about my work, so I couldn't just stop it completely.
Uh-huh. So Tell us more about your work in human design and in general about yourself. You have a very interesting story, and I think it will be surprising to some people out there to hear.
Well, I hope most of those who are watching understand that we're colleagues with you. And I'm also a human design analyst. And I started my path around 10 years ago when I received my reading. I actually received first reading as a generator. So it was kind of not really activating and empowering. The second one, yeah, was around 10 years ago, and that's when I really started questioning. So I went on YouTube and generally online to read about things, and slowly I realized that that I talk about it with people, and they ask questions, and maybe you can explain it to me. And of course, I couldn't. So that was my doorway, kind of. Invitation to go and take a course and then another course and then the third one. And 10 years later, I'm still studying. So at the moment, I finished the analyst teacher training already quite a few years ago. I did the family analysis certification and child development certification. I also teach Living Your Design course and Rave ABCs. So I think that's it. And I'm now finishing also BG5, which is business analysis certification. And I'm in the middle of DDP, the differentiation degree program, which is all about everything beyond what I mentioned before. Yeah, because it has a cosmological part and PHS, food regimens, and it has also some of the child development. It has very, very deep knowledge, starting from the Big Bang and finishing the structure of our cells. Everything of that is part of human design system. So that's studying wise, and my path really took me in a very interesting places and spaces and people. So I am offering readings, and I think I already gave readings to every possible kind of human beings and in all kinds of places. And I also created a worldwide rave marathon, yeah, with my partner Christoph for that. And I also teach human design in Ministry of Education in Israel. So offering the very basic levels of this knowledge to normal teachers in normal schools who can have a possibility to treat their kids a bit more individually rather than through this average perception. So that's kind of a short list of what I'm doing.
So you mentioned something which actually happens to some people when they don't check very thoroughly their birth data, that they do get a different chart. And what would you advise them to dive deep first into the hour, right?
Yeah, and it happened to me because, first of all, it was through the person who was not certified and didn't go through any kind of education. It was a self-taught person. And later, when I was asking her, like, why did she do it like that? Because I did not know my time of birth at that time. And she said, yeah, when you don't know your time of birth, you just put midday, 12, whatever it is, p.m. And yeah, you can do it when more or less things are not shifting drastically. But in my case, in the day I was born, there are lots of change of type, few times the profile is changing and everything. So this is something that's very questionable. So of course, it's very important to double check things and look always, when for example, person comes in, I was born around 6. Oh, yeah, you look plus minus 2 hours in both directions to just make sure that things are not changing drastically. And I already had a few cases of literally returning money to people and not taking responsibility of giving the reading, because exactly at 5:57 everything was changing. Yeah, so like that these questionable moments, I better leave it to uh, either finding the exact time of birth or making rectification, which is also quite questionable from my perspective, because if you do rectification with 2 or 3 people, normally you get 2 or 3 different time of birth. So yeah, that's. But yeah, being precise with this information is a doorway to knowing your original code and not being having a distorted process like mine. But I guess everything has its place. If it exists, it has its place. As we know, trial and error is a part of the process.
So for you, that was your process. And what changed when
Mhm.
you actually found out you were a projector? What clicked differently for you?
You know, I mean, human design's power is in the keynoting. And keynoting is literally words that activate your DNA memory. So when I heard for the first time, wait for invitation, it was like, I know it. I just knew that I know it, because everything that happened, like big things that happened in my life, were absolutely a result of invitation from other people. So I looked, like when I heard it and when I realized it, was like, of course. Yeah, that was the of course. That's about me. It was so, there's no question about it. It was just so clear that that's it. So I guess that was my first. It's like, that's it. Something unique, something different, because I had quite a path before human design. I lived in India. I studied Kabbalah in Israel. So I did a lot of spiritual, so quote unquote practices. Oh my God, this insect here. And it was quite clear to me, I wasn't really looking for answers to questions. The reading I got was like a present for my birthday. I wasn't like going to the reading. It was an invitation also. So when I literally heard it, it made me that. But then there were many things that I also had a resistance to. Yeah, first of all, it was again not from the professional certified analyst, was somebody who just started learning. And uh, there was a lot of distortion as well, as I later understood. So suddenly, from this, wait for invitation, came also, wait a second, but why are you telling me this? Why are you telling me that? So there were other things that didn't really resonate with me. But that main activation, yeah, the strategy, literally took me deeply into my own investigation. Yeah, so it was a love and hate relationship for quite a few years before I actually went to study properly.
Hmm, interesting. So it came in your life in phases somehow. And
Absolutely.
actually, if you think about it, that's very correct for you because you're emotional. And somehow it gave you time to see it from different perspectives before it really came into your life. And how did
Mhm.
your life change? Or did it change at all? Or you said you were
I can
already quite
say,
aware.
yeah. At that time, I lived in a really beautiful, conscious community in nature, very ecological, very free, and I could say I had a perfect life when I met human design. And I like to say, when people normally say, human design saved me, it showed me and everything. I like to say, human design destroyed my life. It's literally what it did. Because from all this beautiful, pastoral living in the yurt without electricity, self-sustainable, and all of that, I finally found myself losing my land, losing my yurt, losing my community, and stepping into the unknown, and in a space where I could just trust life. And that's pretty much where I am at the moment. If you would tell me months ago that I would go to Peru and do this dieta, I would be like, what? And that's for the last 10 years. My life is absolutely unpredictable, and that's what human design, quote unquote, gave me. Oh, I'm also very cautious with this phrase, what it's gonna give me, because human design does not give us anything. Yeah, human design is a knowledge in itself. The question is what we can take from it, what we are able to absorb from it. And for each person, it's individual. So for me, it's rather a frequency that I'm receiving with this knowledge. First of all, when I'm in times of misalignment, I just go back to my books and I read them again, and I remember who I am, and I remember who I am not, which is even more important. So I guess that's the beginning of the answer. I mean, I can talk for hours about it, but to make it really short and to the point, it showed me what I am not. And also, as the one who is not here to focus on myself, I'm a projector, much, much easier focusing on other people and humanity in total. Yeah, I have a 15th gate, gate of love of humanity. It also gave me understanding of where we are going together as humanity. It showed me a picture of reality, and it gave me a foundation to stand on, because naturally I'm very interested from childhood, from all this end of the world and conspiracies and theories and everything that lies underneath the mainstream flow of information. And the picture of reality that human design offering is literally the one that is super coherent. It has no religious content in it, and it's logical. And that's pretty much what I'm deeply embracing in this system.
Mm. And when you found out you were a projector and it really resonated with you, but we know that it takes some time until you, especially with the non energy types, the projectors and reflectors, it can take a little bit time until you, let's say, all the different layers somehow get together. And because it's so much easier for the generator and for the manifestor to directly experiment and see directly results, and not only results, but directly see, because it's energy, you can see how it the response to that even. But with the projector, it's a little bit, it takes time. So what would you tell other projectors when they come to the system and they're new and
Mm, I wouldn't. I actually don't really agree with you, because also invitation is energy, right? So when you start understanding invitation as energy, it's just like a response for a generator. You start seeing what you are providing here, what are your gifts to the world. And that would be obviously my main message to a projector. Understand what you have to offer to the world and make it your main focus, and not you. Yeah, not you, but your tools. What do you have in these hands, in this head? Because that is the projector's main tools. How we are guiding with the knowledge, with the information we have, with the experience we have, or with specific mastery of any system, craft, anything, instrument, anything. And when it is there, and if it is there, you start literally experiencing the flow of energy. It's there. And so in this sense, for me personally, as I say, I was very, very lucky to come to human design, not from the place of pain and despair and trying to fix my life. It's I am lucky, and I can say that because I have a 46 gate actually twice in my body graph, so I'm a lucky one in this sense, uh, design wise. And it was easy for me to see what and where is invitation, also because I lived in the community, and living in community is very intense social dynamic. So it was very clear to me on daily basis if I'm invited in this circle, in this project, and it was on daily basis. And so that's it. See invitation as energy, see invitation as something that is alive, and you don't need necessarily to hear the words I invite you. It's way more multidimensional than that. That is one thing. Yeah, another thing, what is waiting? Wait for invitation. Many of the projectors are turned into the passive state and like, okay, let's see what happens. And this is a disaster. And that's why so many projectors, at least what I pick up from like Facebook groups, some people say, oh, I was told to do that. And it's so disappointing. I'm back to manifesting. And this is exactly not the point. Waiting is active. Waiting is active state of being when you are evolving in your tools, in your ability to support others or share with others what you have, or empower others with your personality, with your abilities, with your mastery. And for me, this is the foundation of understanding. Yeah, that projectors are not some disabled people who are only dependent on other people's reactions on them. It's absolutely not. I mean, look at the history and all these celebs, yeah, that are projectors. And you can see that they were coming out to the world, they were showing up. So for me, this word is one of the keynotes for a projector: show up. And you do not need invitation to show up. You need invitation only when it comes to collaborations with other people. Yeah, when it comes to with whom to make love, with whom to live, with whom to be friends, yeah, with whom to work. But to shine your light, you don't need any invitation for that. Absolutely not. It's your life and you're living it, and are you able to enjoy it? Yeah, that's another question. And I guess that would be my take on it.
I love that because the invitation can also just be in the air. And indeed, it's one of the myths in human design that waiting for the projector as well as for the generator, that it's some passive waiting and then state and you're doing nothing. And that's so not true. But my question was more like, does it take more time, or that's also a myth, for the projector to get all the layers of what was not going well after you start acting as yourself and be in balance with your nature and project out your true song, as a way to say it, your true melody without distortion?
I
Does
love it.
that make a difference?
Yeah, I love it. True song. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful what you're saying. Yeah, we're all singing the song of our life, our whole life. That's what we pretty much do. And honestly, it's the first time I hear even that idea. And for me, I would, if we would talk about the speed of entering the experiment, I would rather base my observation on the definition other than the genetic type. So as a single definition, I have an ability to integrate information quite fastly. For a split definition or triple split or quadruple split definition, I guess these are the people who would take more time, not just receiving, yeah, but integrating and making it part of their reality. So that's kind of what mechanically seems more correct for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. And the recognition, because before you get an invitation, obviously you have to be recognized for something. And it's of also not only for projectors, of course. And if we look in our body graph, how easily we can get in trouble, because actually most of our channels are projector channels. So we see that invitation is just part of being open to life, to to serve you something on the table of abundance. And you're the one that can experience whether there is something for me there or not. But you said also something very important, that human design gave you to find out who you're not. And that's all what it starts with, doesn't it? And at the same,
Exactly.
yeah. And at the same time, this is where in your way of connecting to the world, um, is in the place where you're not in your we meet with the others in our openness and in our vulnerability, actually. And maybe that's the specialty of the projector, to find um, that self, that and how you can um, develop it and maximize your potential, or not.
Or not. Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. We can look at it from obviously many different perspectives, and depending who is the person. And I wouldn't again limit these to just a genetic type. I guess it's correct for everyone. And for myself, for example, as an open G center, my direction is 360 degrees. It's all of it. And this is one of the things that were literally not, I wouldn't say like bother me, but definitely there at the corner of my mind, present, as the world demands us, know yourself, know who you are, know what you're doing, stick to it. And for me, I was interested in this and I was interested in that. And when I was meeting these people, their interest would create a lot of enthusiasm in me. And I was obviously thinking that something's wrong with me and I need to find that one thing and do it my whole life. And human design clearly gave me the keynote. It's not who you are. Yeah, you are open G. You can be whatever your environment is. And if you change your environment, you can also be a different person. And that's exactly what happened. It gave me a lot of freedom to not to be stuck in this mental formula of what and how, but rather be open to life even more. It's not that I wasn't before, yeah, but when we go deeper, especially those who go through some kind of psychotherapy or any kind of other therapy, going deeper into the unconscious. And I was, yeah, due to my personal stories and traumas, and I really wanted to work it out. I used a lot of techniques to going inwards, and yeah, yeah, and accepting who I'm not, accepting the fact that my direction will never be fixed. I will always be amplifying what's going on around me. And that's why there's nothing more important for me than being in the correct environment, for example. Yeah, and that's what is happening most of the time. Actually, on this journey, I'm on the journey for quite a few months now. We in South America, we did already 5 countries, and there was one episode where for about a week, I was in the place where I didn't choose to be, but the circumstances brought me to. And I started physically experiencing pains I never had in my life. And it was so scary, that I even wrote to my insurance company, is it covering the visit to the doctor in this country? I want to go, I want to check, because my mind open spleen, of course, yeah, and the third line there. So I really wanted to just understand and make a test and everything. But then I shifted the location and boom, everything is gone. This the environment, I guess it's something that is very important. Yeah, for maybe that's why I'm putting it in the first place. And G Center is definitely everything starts from where. Yeah, where. That's the beginning. Also, as a cosmology tells us, it is the beginning of the process, the where. And yeah, yeah. Did I answer?
Yeah, yeah. That's also something interesting about you is that you indeed traveled, and I know because I know some of the stories, of course, but you really did travel around the entire world, and now actually being in South America maybe concludes it for you, like really making it completely global. Um, and also you teach in 3 languages, and it's interesting because you see so many very different cultures, like on one hand Christianity and Orthodox Christianity, then on the other hand Judaism, and then now you experience different communities. And what would you say is what makes us different, and at the same time what makes us the same, and your experience just with human design and different cultures, and um yeah, different, um, because a lot of people would come from their own different cultural limitations even, and human design comes with these strange notions that can be, you have to be quite open-minded and be ready to receive this information.
Yeah, yeah, be ready. I'm lucky with the fact that people who come to my field, they come, I don't invite them, so they are ready. And culturally, since my experiment with human design, it's so amazing to watch the or to watch the and it doesn't matter. I'm in Japan or I'm in the jungle of South America, deep in Amazonia, where I'm right now. Everybody's Everybody is it's there. It's the foundation. Yeah? Regardless the type, by the way. Everybody is responding, just not for everybody. It's a strategy, right? So that is something that shows everywhere. We have 9 centers, 64 gates, 36 channels, 12 profiles. And that's what I see all over the world. It's everywhere, and it's all of us. The nature is the same nature. But then comes all the cultural difference. So our designs are being deeply conditioned, and it's amazing to see that. So, for example, I started my journey in South America in Uruguay. And when I landed in Uruguay, I'll never forget my first walk in the city. It's like, it was shocking, Veronica. Every other person, like 50+% of population were walking with a thermos under their right armpit, how you call it, yeah, and with the little cup in the same hand, and then other hand had like a phone or a bag or just nothing, yeah. And I look at it like, how is it possible? It's a thermos nation, and everybody is doing that, but like everybody, 50+% of population. So it's such a strong conditioning, and I tried that drink. It's not even that tasty, It's incredible. So all this population is conditioned for that specific type of behavior. And then regardless, their design is just there. Yeah? They're just there. And they're not aware of it. They're not aware that they're not maybe even choosing to drink it. It just happens. Yeah. Like one of my Uruguayan friends said, I received this cup from my mother when I was 5 years old, and now I'm almost 40 and I still use it. So it's like generational things. So, and in the other countries, and I am the one who always travels with my thermos, people look at me as like, why are you carrying all of these? Why can't you just like get a tea somewhere and then throw the cup out? And for me, it's like, why would I do that? Yeah. And suddenly I find myself at home for this specific aspect. And that's what we see everywhere. Yeah, there are a lot of deep traditional imprints, is no question about it. And there's even, I think somebody was trying to make a research of turning countries into type, or into profile, and looking at the countries from perspective of the lines and so on and so forth, which is also amazing, by the way. We definitely can find these traits. So it's the mind can, the fantasy can go very, very far with all of these things. And the foundation stays. Yeah, we have that limited amount of qualities at this stage of evolution. We know that later some gates will disappear. Yeah, but at this point, we have 64 of the archetypes played out, yeah, in us chemically, because there are 64 amino acid groups. And that's all we have. And from the way my eyes looking at reality is this. I'm looking at reality through the sameness, and I see, first of all, as a proper projector, my G center focuses on G center of the others. So I am able to penetrate to the essence of the human, and the essence is all same. Yeah, it's the purity of being, is the essence of humanness. And actually, yeah, I'm kind of naturally developing myself here to the very important topic, because many people approach human design system without properly understanding what is to be human. They want to know human design without knowing what is to be human, and to know basic human definitions of what it is. And from my perspective, many of people, because of that, take human design to absolutely distorted places, especially individuals, who are literally thinking that, to being an individual is to tell fuck off to everyone. And it creates a lot of distortion in the world, because it's not about that. It's absolutely not. And I met quite a few even human design analysts, certified analysts, whose behavior was very far from being called human behavior as a result of that. And that's something that brings a lot of bitterness to me, because I can see that that is the core, yeah, of arriving to human design knowledge, just like to any other knowledge that has to do with human nature. The one has to start with understanding what is to be human, what is human, what is heart, yeah, not just as anatomical, but as a way of transmitting themselves to life, and so on. And now with the war being promoted, yeah, highly, because it's accelerating, and we are accelerating, and we are entering the Third World War. There's no question about it. It's already been announced by American president a couple of weeks ago. Uh, the question of staying human becomes even more important, because there's no other way if you really want to keep your karma clean. Yeah, if you want to keep yourself pure and really fulfill, embody, and fulfill the true purpose of why you are here and now in this body on this earth. And this is something that I really like to mention, yeah, also in different varieties of my work. And also that's something that makes my mind very busy of what it is to be a human. There's so much of it to learn. Yeah.
You bring a very important topic, and when you mentioned several times what is it to be a human, in the back of my mind I had the echo of Ra's words, "We're all killer monkeys." And the changing of times gives us opportunities. One thing is finishing, and maybe this killer monkey state is finishing. Maybe not. But we have obviously the closing of one gate and the opening of another. So indeed, these times are always, actually, if you look at different cultures or whatever, the time between the dawn and the darkness, or before the sun goes away, it's always a time of magic, and everything is possible. You can see everything in the shadows, and everything can be exaggerated. And we're in such a time, aren't we? In such a difference between the night and the
Absolutely.
day.
Absolutely. Yeah, I want to address everything you said. You know, first of all, of course, killer monkeys. That's exactly the opposite of human nature. That's the animalistic, splenic, survival dot. And we are already way more developed than just surviving. And that's where the human nature enters. For me, if you would ask me, what is being human, it's really being connected to that energy of G center, of what it is, being able to transmit the energy of love. We cannot be love, yeah. Let's not romanticize the stuff, yeah. But to be really able to maximize the own potential to transmit that frequency to the world. It's a sense of beauty that animals, for example, don't really have in that way. It's possibility to self-reflect, which is also not given to other species. So all of that and much more. Yeah, I want to go too much into it. Like, how much are you able, yeah, you or me, how much am I able to transmit all of that on a daily basis? You know, starting with the very simple things. When I get up, do I make my bed? You know, and apparently, you know, I'm meeting a lot of people who don't. And this is a very simple move that we do in the morning when we close one period, yeah, the dream kingdom, and go to the day. You know, am I doing it? And I see when I wake up and I'm in a chaotic mind, I will never make my bed. But when I wake up and I align with myself, that's how I start the day. I clean after myself. You know, how many people really cleaning after themselves every single moment of life? Yeah, I mean the words, the deeds, the material objects, and beyond. So there is a lot, yeah, to learn. Education is the only thing that can truly, yeah, make us human. Education. And for me, it is the answer to almost every question. You know, are you able to? I lower my voice because people are praying here. And how much you're able really to be aligned with what is. And naturally, when you were just born in the jungle or urban jungle, which is even more jungle, let's face it, yeah, without proper education is going. And that's what we see. And I think, Veronica, that's what you mentioned right now. Yeah, that one of the things, yeah, the program closes the door. Yeah, it closes the possibilities for Homo sapiens to develop. Our species are done evolutionary. We finished our program basically. Something else is going to show up very soon, just like we showed up at some point after dinosaurs finished their evolutionary stage. And that's why I guess what you call now the magic, if we step outside the personal mm, how you say, if we stay outside the personal perception of what's going to be with me and if I will survive, and like all of these things, and we really go beyond that, we can see the beauty, yeah, this holistic picture of, wow, I am so privileged to be born and to live at this stage of evolution, because if I am awake, I can actually see it, experiencing it, and not just be closed in my box of just this survival of what the mind thinks I am is. Is it clear?
Yeah. And but at the same time, you mention education, which is information. And also you
Thank you, Atta.
mentioned
Yeah.
arrogance. Being informed can make you arrogant. At the same time, even, Ra who says, this knowledge is for wolves, it's not for sheep. So then naturally comes to me the question, okay, where is the balance between this? Where is the balance between being arrogant and a wolf and stand for yourself and be individual? And where is the sheep and the vulnerability and being the same with the others?
Yeah, for me, the answer is very clear. Yeah, at this point, I was also asking myself how it is, not to betray of what's happening here and not to be that arrogant bitch. Yeah, that sometimes I am. Let's face the truth. And the answer came into or through the exploration of what is really I am. And what I realized that the I am the mind thinks of. Yeah, Julia, human design analyst, traveler, whatever. Yeah, that is one thing. But there is another I am, which is under all those layers. And that I am has nothing to do with what the mind thinks I am is, and acting from that I am, which is, wow, that's been a dilemma and eternal search of any seeker. Yeah, that's what religious people call find God in me. Yeah, well, we know that in the body graph, God is living in a 19th gate, and I'm quite lucky to own it. So mechanically, the God is present in me in a fixed, consistent way, and I'm adoring my body graph. I think it's the best body graph in the world, and that's my job to make sure everybody who comes to my readings thinks that their body graph is the best body graph in the world. But just look at it. Yeah. The Mystic Path, and that 1949 is that pressure that source of the mystic path. So for me, it's been from the childhood, yeah, the search. And my first experience was when I was a bit over 10, maybe like 12, when I had Osho meditation. I didn't know it's Osho. I didn't know it's meditation. My friend's sibling needed some healing for her epilepsy, and somebody told that there is this practice and they need other people around to have a group around her. Yeah, little did we know about transauric communication at that time. But that's how I accidentally, which of course is never started. Yeah, and since then it's never finished. But I always been kind of invited to different processes, and um, and that's what I was looking deeper and deeper into, how to go beyond Julia, how to go beyond all these other names that I'm giving to myself. And in those moments of union, yeah, either through the mental search or meditation or any other practices that I've been doing, and I've been doing quite some unusual things, putting myself on the nails for hours, or sitting in the dark room, or whatever it is. It's always been that. How am I allowing it to be embodied, which is beyond what I think I am? And this is the key for me of understanding also individual circuit and other things in human design, which, to my perspective, most of the people are not ready to start understanding. Understanding practically on the daily basis, not theoretically, in just some dogmatic way. And that's why I say that to know doesn't mean to be able to. You can know your design, it doesn't mean you're able to live it. And education is information plus experience. So we need that experience. Yeah, in our system we call it the experiment, but it's beyond. It's beyond, and that's why I always say, yeah, just don't lock yourself in human design. Look at the world. There's so many things, and including myself, I consider human design the most perfect system on the planet. Its perfection makes me cry so many times just out of its beauty, just seeing its beauty. But I'm still doing yoga every morning, or not every morning, but it's my main practice for the body. Right now, I just finished this medicinal plant retreat. Who knows what I'm going to do next? But things show up, and I'm still open, and never lock myself in any kind of dogmatic situation. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, living is a verb. So yeah, it cannot stop at something. It's just moving. Because we mentioned that you traveled a lot, and cultural conditioning, and starting from the individuality, and talking about what is it to be human, what's going on in the background frequency, but at the same time what's going on in the geopolitical aspect. Still, we are born in pentas, in groups. We live in groups, and basically we even die in groups. And human design gives us a chance to differentiate, to wake up to our uniqueness. Still, we are constantly in groups, and as we know, groups take away your individualism. So you've traveled along so many conditioning groups, and well, of course there is no one solution, but what would you tell people of how to actually nourish their individuality and survive in this homogenizing society and forces and yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, here I cannot be too much unique. Yeah, and I can only share with my own experience and things that Ra was sharing, and Buddha was sharing, the Christ was sharing, and all of these other guys and girls, yeah, who were going through this process is the healthy dynamic between the group and aloneness. Not loneliness, yeah, aloneness. Taking time alone, yeah, it's such a simple tool. And never to be taken for granted, especially taking time alone in nature. Because if you take any person and you just leave them alone in some hut, with water, a bit food, and nothing else, it's it's the best thing that can return you to that yourself that we were talking before, that has nothing to do with what you think you are. It is the only way, as I understand it, as I see it, and as I experienced it, to be able to juxtapose yourself to the group. And then when you come back, then when you truly can see the power of conditioning. Because once you're not withdrawn from this, what in human design we call transauric space, yeah, and basically if you are consistently living in the city, and especially if you live in the apartment, you are stuck in the aura box. I love this expression, yeah, that Ra used, which is you have other people's energy from all four directions. So you are never, ever alone, even if you think you're alone. So that's the privilege, that's the biggest privilege that you can give yourself, is allowing yourself to stay alone, and preferably without devices, internet, and without the, uh, too much, yeah, other distortion, just as you are. And I guess that's why also retreats, all kinds of retreats become more and more popular, because people start understanding, yeah, those who are on the path to I amness within, to literally, yeah, to stop in that I amness. And I don't see any other option for that.
Yeah, to take a long time and as you also mentioned, when coming out of the dream realm into the new day, to also give yourself some time to center yourself in who you are.
Yeah, depends who you're sleeping with.
Well, ideally you're sleeping alone.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to ask you something in totally different uh, perspective, but I want to return you back to the projector, being a projector. And I want, since we busted several myths here, um, bitterness. Will the bitterness ever disappear? Is it just a red flag? Or is it the way the universe gives you feedback? Can you contemplate some about bitterness and does it go away ever? Is there something useful
It's a
in the bitterness or it's
really good
only a bad
question.
experience?
Can you hear me, everyone?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And the truth is, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Um, It's, I guess, just like a frustration for a generator. There are levels of bitterness. I can only talk about myself, and I see these levels of bitterness in me. Uh, when there is a personal bitterness and there is a transpersonal bitterness. And my personal bitterness very much depends on my decision making process, on the environment, yeah, as I shared with the example before. And there is a transpersonal bitterness. It's every time I look at the world, I feel bitter and I cannot hide it. It's distorted and it's perfect in its distortion because that's what it is. Sometimes it's very hard to see it as perfect in its distortion when the human perspective is on. So it's definitely there. I remember one episode that's, I can say, really changed my life. It was a very, it wasn't any event actually. I was in the festival back then I lived in Israel, and I was in the desert in the incredible festival, with like stages and people and colorful and costumes and celebrating life and all of these conscious, beautiful things. And I woke up. We had a room really close to stage, yeah, because my partner was performing. And I went to Facebook, and my friend posted an article, and I started reading an article. It was really long. It was like that long. It took me like an hour maybe to read it. And it was an article about the area in China. It's called Xinjiang, something like that. I never know how to pronounce it correctly. It's huge. It's like a third of China in its territory. And I never heard about it before that. And the more I was reading, the more I was like basically losing my peace, losing my coherence, and that who was thinking Julia was definitely imbalanced, after reading it, because it described all the horror of what human mind can come up with for torturing, controlling, and imposing on other people. And it, by the way, still goes on, of course. Now it's even worse. I'm talking to you maybe like 6 7 years ago, yeah, when I read this article. And I stopped reading and I looked out of the window and I saw all these people dancing and celebrating life. And I realized how I'm in a cognitive dissonance right now. And in the way, that's when I felt one of the biggest bitterness states I ever experienced, which had nothing to do with me personally, but it was so strong. And in a way, it still lives in me. The craziest thing, by the way, is that when I was reading it, I was like, oh my God, at least I will never, ever be even close to this territory, yeah, to this space. Exactly half a year later, exactly, it was in November, in May, on my birthday, I was invited to go there. It was absolutely insane, yeah. And I didn't go there in the end due to bureaucratic situation in China. Yeah, I was in China somehow, also very unexpected. And this thing really showed me how I live in illusion. Life is beautiful, everything is beautiful, I have so many conscious people around me, and blah 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 blah. But there's so many other layers, and the only mm, realization that supports me on the way of coming out of that bitterness is complete knowing that what I see is not what it is. Yeah, the true picture is hidden from our human perspective. So bringing myself back to this realization when I'm losing it allows me to be coherent with wars and poverties and the rest of injustice. Whatever justice means, I actually don't really like this word, because it belongs to human mind. And so that's about the bitterness and the way I understand it. On my personal example, there are many layers of bitterness, and the only way to deal with it is, again, as I understand it, is to serve other people with what I have, with what you have, as we are here to support each other. We're here to empower each other. We're here to share with each other what we are and what we have, directly and indirectly. And this is basically what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything else other than that. Uh, and that's what gives me personally energy to live, and doesn't allow me to jump into that bitterness and stay there for too long. But there's work to do. There's work to do. And it's a bullshit when they say that projectors are not here to work. We're all here to work. It's a working planet. It's a generator planet. We are here to work. So the day without work, the day without giving yourself to the world, doesn't matter if you paint a picture, or you talk to a friend, or whatever you do. For me, this is being human, is to give yourself to the world. And then there is no time for bitterness because you're busy.
Yeah, this is exactly what I meant. Living is a verb. We're here to live the life, and as you say, to work on ourselves, and expanding consciousness is also work. And work is not a bad word if you do what you love. Do you do what you love, Julia?
That's out of question. I am very lucky with that. But I don't think that it's only, for those. Even for people who do what they don't love, or what they think they don't love, but they put in this position, or sometimes even forced in the position. I would like to come back to the realization what we see is not what it is. What we see with our human perspectives is just a perspective. Our life is not limited by the moment of our birth or the moment of our what's the word? Not
Conception.
when the conception, when the mom and papa are making us. We've been here for a long time. We are all old souls. There's no young souls here. The what's happening with us right now is the result of what we've been doing before. I mean, the law of karma, it's not just some spiritual invention. It truly is. You can see it also on your life path, on your day-to-day process, but it's not limited by just this body and just this story. So those who are forced to do the work, they are not wanting to do. There is a reason for it, and this is also important to understand. So for these people, the goal is to really do the job properly, regarding if they want it or not, if they are there. And that's the way to move on in life, regardless if it's going to be this lifetime, next lifetime. My perception of reality, or is really where I'm bringing myself to, is eternity. It's not just this moment. This moment has eternity in it. And the mind, when I act from the mind, is not able to perceive it. But when I am succeeding moment after moment, acting from eternity, then of course, there are things I don't like to do. I love teaching human design, But for teaching human design, I need to make a website. I need to have this person and that person to support me. And I sometimes spend days on doing things I don't love to do, but it's a part of a story. It's a part of the process. I don't think anybody can do only what they love 100% of time. It's not possible. This is a planet of multidimensionality. So there's everything in everything. Yeah, but on the overall, when we're really aligning with eternity within us and we look at life through that perception, that's when really magic starts happening. And the magic is not like, oh, I traveled my whole life, so my life is magical, and stay in your village for 20 years, so now you have to cry and hate your life. It's like, oh, I can tell you that the most magical things that happen to me, happen in routine, in daily basis, in absolutely regular, normal things. Sometimes I'm passing by just this flower, and I stop and I see it. I was passing by 50 times, I didn't see it. But this one time I saw it. And when I see a flower, this is magic. But am I able to see the flower every time I'm passing by? No, because I'm back in this human and mental and the layers. But then especially after I practice, I get more connected to myself. Then there's expansion, and I'm able to see it. So these are the moments. Every time I meet human being, for me it's magic. We can still share language. We can still share ourselves. We don't realize how incredible it is, how our souls came from such different parts of the universe, and here we are, stuck in these boxes from meat. Yeah, that's how we see it. But there's so much more to it, and it's magic. The projector speaking. It's nothing more magical to me than meeting other people and penetrating their nature and experiencing it. This is true magic. So we don't need to go and travel to experience magic. The magic is and the mystery of life, and the source of it is in every breath, is in every step. But we're not there continuously. So for me, in my practice, it's all about accelerating this ability to act from eternity and to see magic in life and every step of it and every breath of it.
So there is no nirvana?
I don't know what it is. No idea.
Yeah, we can wake up the observer, but the observer cannot be all the time awake. Yeah, or you go nuts, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. Potentially there is a possibility, and I met teachers who really have that frequency, that next to them, you don't need to know. You just experience it, presence. But of course, these are rare individuals that one be very lucky to meet on the way.
So again, returning things back to the projector, and talking about work and loving your work, can we say, according to what you previously mentioned, that showing up for the projector is actually the most important work?
Absolutely. 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 I don't even have anything to add. Being able to express yourself, being able to embody your definition, being able to leave your profile, to have the frequency of your cross. You can use many terms, but it's it. Projectors are not here to shut up. That's what I was told in my first reading. You're a projector, just sit and shut up and wait for somebody to invite you. I was like, that's weird. That's not how I understand wait for invitation. So, and that's what I've been discovering more and more. It's projectors here to shine. To shine, it's G. Yeah, to shine, it's projector. Yeah, it's light, whatever it means. And and that's a mystery of how to show up without being, needy, noisy, uncomfortable, like, and sticky, and so on and so forth. Yeah, that is a magic, and that's something that you can only experience, yeah, through trial and error, regardless of profile, actually. Because some people like doing it too much, some people doing it too little, some people are doing it through their openness and not through their definition, and so on and so forth. So show up is no question about it. But how to do that? It is a matter of your inner wisdom. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, I am constantly returning you to and asking you all these questions, but it's so rare to meet projectors who are ready to answer your questions. And I'm not one that you answer their questions, so thank you for that. Because I think there are quite some pearls in our conversation. And guys, if you resonate with Julia and she's your person, please feel welcome and invited to invite her to your space. If she resonates with you, there are a lot of pearls she can give you and guide you with. Julia, is there something you want to share and something to finish, finalizing you final words of
Wow,
wisdom?
that sounds serious and scary. Final one.
No, no,
Oh
no.
my
It's
God.
let's keep it not so serious.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like all the words are said already. It's more about, do you feel yourself? Do you know yourself? It's more of a question. Do you remember asking questions on a daily basis? Is it me? What is that me that is in me? I guess that would be a great start of every day. And where am I acting from? Yeah, where am I showing up from? From what space inside there? Because so many of us just kind of act and talk whatever. But when we really align, and that's a beautiful word, align. Yeah. That's what we do in human design, right? We're not doing like healing or therapy. We do alignment with who we are. So I guess I just wish all of us to act from our alignment, to speak from our alignment, to embody ourselves from the aligned space, and to take time in silence and aloneness. It's sacred. It's really, really sacred. That's when you truly meet that I am. And then go to the world and bring it to the world in whatever shape and form and sound. Yeah, I like how you said we're all singing our song. So, are you singing your song? Am I singing my song? It's very good to revise this and go back to it every single day, again and again, until the last breath. That's it.
Julia, that sounds so beautiful and perfect to close off our conversation, but life is not perfect, and I have more questions. Sorry, just
Oh my God.
one
Okay,
more.
good. Okay.
It's about being emotional. And because you're so deep, oh my God, I'm feeling this conversation. I don't want it to finish. I know that you need to go, but wow, I really want to be there with you, actually. I'm not. Anyways,
I'm coming back to Bulgaria.
yeah,
Hopefully soon.
you're so much invited and welcome.
Oh, it was so good to spend time with you in Bulgaria. Oh,
Yeah, we were in our own bubble and nothing else happened. We were just together.
yes.
It's crazy. Um, but I want to ask you about the emotionality, because this is I cannot just skip the question, because I was thinking, oh my God, she's so deep, and um emotional people can be so layered. There is so much juice there. I want to ask you, and you're also very read in your definition, in your emotional definition. Um, how do you feel that dance with the world? Of course, you're a projector, and but emotionally, I mean, when you're down on your wave and when you're up on your wave, and what's the wisdom there for emotional people? It can be so hard to wait sometimes for your clarity. And how is it for you? How do you deal with your emotionality, with your deepness?
So first of all, it was quite a big shock for me to discover it. In the reading, I didn't understand what it exactly means, and it took me quite a couple of years to really dive into it and realize that emotions are chemistry flowing in the body, and I literally need to wait for this chemistry to pass by, to change, to interchange. Yeah, I cannot really pass by, yeah, but it's ever evolving to shift. Yeah, its polarity, waves, and so on. And in this fast world, obviously, for the one who has three channels defining her emotional center and nothing else in the body graph, it's all about waiting, and yeah, it's just very different from the global picture. Yeah, you see these three ones, the feeling, the is there. It's so powerful, but because it's unconscious, I don't really have an access to it in the moment. So allowing myself never ever to make decisions and wait as much as the world allows. And again, sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes uh, it still wants to needs more time. Like I made a decision during the trip, yeah, for one of the moments, and then when the trip happened and some time passed, I realized it was not a correct decision. But I had only 3 weeks to decide, and it was not enough. So I made a decision, and it probably had to be B decision, and I lost the result, some time and lots of money, and it's okay. It's another trial and error process. So yeah, I guess the discrepancy between the inner timing and the world's timing. And that's why I guess I also say it to everybody, actually, not just emotional people, that spending some time in nature is really helps to synchronize with the natural rhythms, yeah, whatever they are. Yeah, in my case, I was not able to be in the nature in these 3 weeks. So also my inner clock was like, okay, okay, make a decision, make a decision, make a decision. And I guess if I would be in the situation like now, yeah, and now I'm at this amazing jungle, that would be much, it would be a different one. So I'm wishing myself what I just wished all of those watching, yeah, that's it. No truth in denial. Take more time. You're right on your way.
Mm. Ride the wave, guys. Whether it brings you down or up, the wave is the wisdom.
Yeah.
Julia, thank you so much for
Mm.
spending this time with me. I loved it, and
Yeah.
there are so many more things I would love to talk with you. And so that also other people can hear it, because it's really authentic conversations we have, and I love that.
Very mutual, Veronica. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I hope that it inspires others to be, to be. Nothing else to add.
Yeah. Okay, I will have your contact details below, in case somebody wants to contact you and receive a reading from you and your guidance. And I want to use the last second to invite you again, because I really want to talk again with you publicly, I mean, so that others can touch you, and to see you soon. Enjoy your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for all of those who managed to reach to this moment and see this interview. And yeah, wishing you. Ciao.
Ciao.